What's up, you guys? Welcome to this week's Manga Sutra Manga review, and in this week's video I want to talk about the ending of Osama game Kigen. Now, I have finally finished reading the entire series and I am pissed with how the plot played out. Now, in a previous video I did a review of Osama game Kigen based on my overall impression of the first 3 chapters that I read. And in that video I said that I feel with a pretty good amount of confidence that Natsuko is the king. And I backed that statement up by saying that I felt that the author revealed too early that Natsuko came from a line of witches and sorcerers, and that in the beginning of the manga they focused too heavily on Natsuko and Kazunari's relationship. Now, I'm pissed because when at the end of Osama game Kigen Natsuko reveals that she was the king the entire time, I wasn't surprised. It wasn't that big shocker because it's just like, well, no shit. At the beginning of the manga, her mom was anal about her and Kazunari being seen together in public and flirting and whatnot, and Natsuko flees into the shed and says that she hates the entire village and that she won't come out. And then after that, she's sick with a fever for 3 days in which Kazunari doesn't see her. And then the day after that, when they go to meet up with their friends, the king's game begins. It's like literally no shit. No shit. This is like the first chapter of the series. And you can literally see that she is the king from the very get-go. So I just felt like that could have definitely been saved. That could have been saved. You didn't have to literally just be heavy-handed with the fact that they are a thing, that they're together, or that she came from a line of witches and sorcerers. They should have literally let the storehouse be a secret. Like, they shouldn't have even said that that was a storehouse. Let that be a shed or some bullshit. Don't even reveal that it contained poisons and medicines of her ancestors and whatnot, and all this other bullshit. Let alone, let's not forget about the fact that her mother, who was anal about her and Kazunari even being together, she knew about their witch and sorcerer heritage and lineage, and when the king's game began, she told no one in the village about it, let alone the fact that no one in the village suspected Natsuko or her mother or Kazunari of being witches or sorcerers or even being a part of the king's game in the beginning. It literally took 2/3 of the village to die out before people started suspecting Natsuko was behind anything. And I don't want to hear that her mother didn't have the opportunity to say anything, because the king's game initiated pretty early on, and it was several orders in until her mother actually died. And I was just pissed at that. I was pissed because you were the one talking about, we come from a long line of witches and sorcerers, and you know, being seen with your cousin is just shameful and disgraceful and all this other bullshit. And I'm just like, okay, but for all that knowledge of your family heritage and lineage, you didn't say jack shit about the king's game or the virus that infected the entire fucking village. Also, I'm just infuriated with Kazunari because he is the most basic ass main character in a survival game horror manga ever. The entire village is telling him that Natsuko is the king. There is mounting evidence that Natsuko is the king. Michiko, the Thought, the Hunter, and 2 other fodder characters literally push Natsuko off of a cliff to kill her because they suspect that she's the king. And while she is gone for several days, the king's orders do not come. And he's just like, no, it's a coincidence. It couldn't be Natsuko. And despite the fact that early on in the manga that Natsuko is strangely nonchalant or strangely spaced out or zoned out when people are getting killed, I'm just like, come the fuck on, man. You have to be retarded not to see this shit. You have to be. And I was just thinking at this point, he just wants to get his dick wet. He is pussy whipped about Natsuko, and this is blinding him, and it pisses me off so fucking bad because, you know, one of the main characters was telling Kazunari, you're a good guy. You don't want anyone to die, but at the end of the day, if it comes down to you and Natsuko, you're willing to kill everyone in this village if it needs to be. And, you know, the main character being the pussy he is, he's just like, no, that's not true. Like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. But when it literally came down to it, when the end of the manga actually happened, and Natsuko told him, I am the king. I'm responsible for this entire village dying. He was just saying, well, it doesn't matter. You didn't know what she was doing. As long as it's just me and you, it doesn't really matter. I can forgive you. And I'm just like, you fucking pussy. Like, oh my fucking god. Like, no one's gonna fucking call out the bullshit of the fact that Natsuko killed 30 other people in the entire village. Their best friends, innocent children, and other innocent bystanders, because she wanted to get some dick from her cousin. Or no one's gonna mention the fact that Kazunari forgives his own fucking cousin for wiping out an entire village because he wants to get his dick wet. No one? No one? I just found it so much bullshit with that. Also, in my previous video, I was mentioning that the group composition for the main character and his friends was basic. Like, we had the main character, Kazunari, his love interest, Natsuko, his best friends, Yuji and Ryuji, the kids, and the thought, Michiko. And, you know, I came into this series thinking Michiko is just the thought. She's just that female character stereotype that is using her body and sex appeal to get by. But you know what? Michiko was the MVP of this entire manga. She has the biggest balls out of everybody in the entire manga. She was the best girl. And what I mean by that is this woman was manipulating everyone from point A to point B. Also, she didn't bullshit about her actions. She didn't bullshit about her motives. She didn't lie about what she wanted. She didn't lie about why she did things. She literally convinced the kid that lost both of his parents to kill himself so no one else in the group would get randomly picked to die. She killed her own father because she was hoping that he was the easiest target and she only had to kill one other person in order to not die at the end of the order. She didn't make no qualms about it. She didn't make no excuses. She said, I did what had to be done. And look, everyone else didn't have the ball to do it. So, you know, everybody else is relieved. No one else bothered to call me out on my bullshit. So, what are you guys going to do about it? You need somebody like her. And I just didn't understand what she saw in the main character, because the main character was like this pussy of a guy, and he was just head over heels for Natsuko, even though she was literally killing off the entire fucking village. And Michiko was telling him from midway through the series, look, Natsuko is the king. You're just too blind to see it. You're head over heels. I know it's never going to be a thing between you and me, but I still love you anyway. And, you know, all of the other stuff she did was pretty shady, and, you know, it was pretty dirty what she did throughout the whole series, but she's been pretty steadfast on her love for Kazunari, even till the fucking very end. And I just felt like it was wasted on somebody like Kazunari. I felt it was wasted that she even had to die and Natsuko fucking made it all the way to the end. I felt it was a waste that Kazunari and Natsuko even fucking survived this bullshit altogether. Also, Kazunari is like the biggest fucking retard ever, because he's thinking, oh, the police can do something. The police can help. Or around the end, when it was only around, I believe, 7 or 8 people left, Kazunari is like, we don't have to kill each other. You know, the police are going to come up with a cure by midnight. Like, bullshit. They don't even know what the fuck the virus even does, and you expect them to come up with a fucking cure by midnight? Like, oh my fucking god. Michiko didn't buy that shit, the Hunter didn't buy that shit, and none of the other characters bought that bullshit. And the only reason he even survived that order was the fact that his friend's death counted as him killing his friend, because he was carrying his friend and his friend bled out in his arms. So that counted as a death. And then he luckily managed to stab one of the other players with a knife in self-defense, which I just call bullshit. I call bullshit on him, because it's just like Michiko said. At the end of the day, he didn't really give a shit. Like, he was preaching all this moral bullshit, and he was trying to play the high ground like any other typical survival game horror manga character. Like, don't vote for this person, don't vote for anyone, we don't have to kill anyone, nobody has to die, we can beat this game without being a part of it, we don't have to follow the rules or any other bullshit. You know, those type of characters. And at the end of the day, he didn't really give a shit about any of that. It didn't give a shit about the fact that his best friend Yuji died, or his other friend Ryuji died, or that several kids died, or his grandma died, or that his father died, or that, you know, literally 30 other people died for no fucking reason, just because Natsuko was really salty about some shit her mom said. Like, come on. Also, like, another thing just pissed me off about Kazunari is he never really made rational decisions. He never did. No one in the crew made rational decisions at the beginning, and around the middle, the only person that was really making any type of fucking sense was Michiko and the hunter. Outside of that, everybody else is being fucking retards. And what I mean by that is, around the beginning of the manga, they had to catch giant hornets or giant wasp for each person in the village. And Ryuji, like a dumbass, was saying, oh yeah, I can get the hive from up there. I can climb all the way up there and get that hive of these giant wasps that can literally fucking sting you and fucking kill you. He just decided, I can definitely get that. And, you know, as the reader, I'm thinking, okay, well, he's just gonna get the hive. He cuts the fucking hive open and then decides to throw it down. He gets stung in the process and almost gets fucking killed. And it was only after his ass got stung that the whole entire group was thinking, you know, we could have just spread out a sheet and we could have just had him drop the thing down intact and got all the bees or all the wasps or all the hornets instead. And, you know, it was because they did it Ryuji's dumbass way that 3 of the hornets died. And then the next morning, 3 people died because of the order, because of the lack of hornets that was supposed to be following the order. So that means 3 people died because his group of friends was too retarded to actually think of a logical way to get the fucking hornets down. Also, in another order, Kazunari is given the ability to pick a person that is going to die. He doesn't want to pick anyone to fucking die. But if he doesn't pick a name, everyone in the entire fucking village dies. So the bullshit here is his grandma. She tells him, pick me. You know, your grandpa is up in heaven and, you know, I want to be there with him. You know, I've lived a long life. But no, our main character, Kazunari, he's a punk bitch and he's just like, I can't do that, grandma. I can't pick you. So instead, he lets Michiko manipulate the fuck out of him. And he lets Michiko trick him into choosing one of his own best friend's mothers to die. And he gets angry at Michiko. Like, I know a lot of people hate Michiko around the end of the series, but the way I see it, Michiko only got away with as much shit as she did because the main character was a bitch. Like, if you ask me, that's how it happened. His best friend's mom didn't need to die because he could have chose his own grandma. She was willing to die. And then after that order, we find out that 2 of his best friend's relatives died because they were grieving and angry over the death of his best friend's mother. So that means his best friend's mother and those 2 other relatives, and then later on that best friend died because he was too fucking stupid to choose his own grandma. 4 people's lives were lost because of his own incompetence. And sure, you can blame it to Michiko for rigging up some ballot box that had the woman's fucking name in there. You can blame it on Michiko for telling the kid to commit suicide because both of his parents are in heaven and that he should join them. You can blame it on her for all that bullshit. But at the end of the day, who was the person that had the power to carry out these fucking orders? It was Kazunari. Who was the person that had the power to make the name? It was Kazunari. Who was the person fighting against the entire fucking group for Natsuko, aka the fucking king? It was Kazunari. And at the end of the entire series, he just excuses all of the fucking horrors that went down in Yonaki Village because he wants to get his dick wet with his own fucking cousin. Like, I just couldn't get over that. And then the biggest punch in the dick at the end is that there's a fucking king's order that he has to poison her. And so she tricks him into poisoning her and killing her at the end. At the very fucking end. So literally, 30 people died for nothing. This was literally some type of bullshit ending where everyone died because of some romantic bullshit. And then we fast forward We fast forward like 30 years or some bullshit, and we find out that he's moved on. He's married another woman. He's had 2 children. He's named one of them Natsuko and the other Chiemi, Chiemi or something, or Chiemi, which is one of the main characters in Osama Gang, which is the sequel following this. And that the virus has somehow evolved into some electronical virus in the fucking phone. How the fuck does a pathological or biological virus that flows through blood and vessels and whatnot become electronical virus or digital virus in phones and computers is beyond me. But it was just full of bullshit. And, you know, for all the trouble that went on in Yonaki Village, I was just kind of hoping that he would just be celibate for the rest of his fucking life. I mean, 30 people died. 30 people died so you could get your dick wet. 30 people. And, you know, those lives were for nothing. Because you basically was just like, you know, Natsuko this, Natsuko that, Natsuko this. Like, oh, I would not be able to live without Natsuko. I would die for Natsuko. But the moment Natsuko dies, your ass moves the fuck on and you have 2 kids. Like, if you ask me, it's just kind of bullshit. It just made everything just seem useless and just kind of redundant. But the only good things that came out of Osama Game Kigen is that it followed pretty much the same structure of Osama Game, which I read before the prequel. We did get some explanation to the origin of the King's Game and its status as a virus. And I would say that the mechanics of King's Game and Osama Game Kigen were somewhat more interesting than Osama Game, the sequel. So I will give it that. And the artwork is pretty decent. The artwork is pretty great. You know, it sharpens up from the first chapter. But, you know, the plot was just god-awful. You know the plot is god-awful when you can predict who the bad guy is a chapter in. And when you can kind of pretty much predict major plot events chapters before they happen and know which character is going to make it how far in this survival game and whatnot like that, you know that the plot is bullshit and that it's just transparent as fuck. And, you know, I suppose if you're, you know, not really that into like having to guess what's going to happen or being on edge or something, then I guess if you want a really obvious plot, then, you know, Osama Game Kigen is for you. But I don't like an obvious plot. I want a plot that's going to keep me on edge. I want a plot that makes me wonder who the fuck is going to make it to the next round. What character's going to do what, who the bad guy is, and so on and so forth. And that leads me to the end of this video. What I want to see in some of these survival game horror mangas is I want to see a bad guy be the main character. I want to see a main character that is trying to kill all the other main characters and that makes no fucking qualms about it. And I want to see all the other characters try to take them down. I want to see one of our characters be the fucking mastermind behind the game. I want to see it from their point of view. I don't want to see it from a contestant's point of view. I want to see it from Mastermind's point of view. Can we get a manga like that? Like, I'm tired of having the same generic fuckboy main character or basic ass girl for a main character in these survival horror mangas. Just shake it up a little bit. Stop being so fucking cliche. Stop going with these stereotypical these types and everything like that. Just be different. This is VM. What is your most disliked things about survival horror mangas? Like, what are your worst survival horror mangas? List them below in the comments. Bye.